Content marketing is so powerful in so many ways. It builds awareness, it builds trust, it's credibility, it's thought leadership. It drives results in social and in email because it gives you something to share and to send. It's great for search optimization because it gives other people something to link to, growing your authority. You can target information intent keywords. It's very, very powerful. But how good is content marketing at driving marketing qualified leads, as in generating actual business demand? It's not great, at least not directly. If you check your analytics for any website that has a mature content marketing program, you'll find that visitors who start their visit on a blog post are actually very unlikely to click over to a service page and become a lead. Suddenly realize they need your products or services. In this example, visitors who start their visit on a service page are 50 times more likely to become a lead than visitors who start their visit on a blog post. So why are we all working so hard to create and promote content? What outcomes are we really hoping for, if not a lead gen contact form submission? The answer is that visitors who read the content are actually very likely to subscribe. If the content is good enough, they'll happily share their email address and subscribe to get more of it. And this is magical. Why? Because it gives you the ability to market to this audience directly. There is no longer a giant technology company in between you and your audience. There's no Facebook or Google or LinkedIn or Twitter. The email address is so important because it's disintermediation. You can now contact and communicate with that audience directly. But it's hard. It's very challenging. It takes a lot of trust to get someone to share their email address with you. That's where lead magnets come in. If you give them just a little nudge and offer them something relevant, something helpful, something really, really good, they're actually far more likely to give you that email address. We asked 1,000 bloggers if they use lead magnets and if they get results from blogging. Bloggers who use lead magnets are 57% more likely to report strong results from their content marketing. It's working. It's sometimes called a content upgrade. It's called a freebie. It's called an opt-in incentive. It's basically just an ethical bribe. If they share their email address with you, you're going to give them the good stuff. So what kind of lead magnets work? What's the difference in the forms? How do you maximize the conversion rate? How can we design better offers and present them in more compelling ways? I have some new research from Getresponse for you. I've got some tips. Let's see what's working now and how it could work even a little bit better. Okay, let's start with the basics. If you want someone to give you their email address, you've got to do a couple of things pretty well. I call these the 3 P's of email signup. The first P is prominence. The call to action, the thing has got to stand out. Pop-up windows are prominent, sticky footers are prominent, things in headers are prominent. The right side, the offer that appears next to the content, inline CTAs, these are all prominence. And you can also create prominence through size, through white space around things, through contrasting color. Next, make a specific promise. You got to tell people what they're going to get. Make a promise, make it specific, and tell people why they would do that thing. Email sign up submit makes no promise at all. So in this case, I've got the why you'd want to do it: to build strong castles and forts. Finally, proof. The third P is proof, and that is evidence that someone else has done this before. If you have a small email list, you can't say join the 10 million people who have subscribed. You might just want to say a tiny testimonial from one person who got this and liked it. But proof is powerful. It leverages the conformity bias, also known as the bandwagon effect, strong correlation with conversion. Now I want to present a little bit of data from LinkedIn, and everything they do there is kind of a test, and they report sometimes on the results they're getting. Stat versus no stat. These are the same exact social post, but you can see the results, and social media is awesome for testing and getting data. It's a data-rich environment. You can see the difference when they just put a single number at the beginning of the post. 75% got a 37% higher click-through rate. So use stats in your calls to action for your lead magnets. Also, light versus dark, you can see the power of contrast. 177% higher click-through rate on the post that had stronger contrast, right? How about guide versus ebook? I think this one's fascinating. In a second, we're going to see the Getresponse research. Ebook will be mentioned there. This suggests that maybe we should be using the term guide, because when there's no other difference except the word ebook and guide are used, Guide seems to be the one that's getting a higher click-through rate, according to this mini study by LinkedIn. What about a quote or a statistic? What do you think is going to work better? The quote worked better. The more human thing worked better. 30% higher click-through rate when they tested a quote versus a statistic, which brings us to another test of a person versus an object when used as the image. This test was done by Megan Golden. You can see she herself is featured in this picture here. 160% higher click-through rates and 289% higher conversion rates. Very powerful. Notice how she's looking at that little headline. This is something else they've tested. Looking away versus looking at. Eye direction can be quite powerful. When the subject of the photo is looking at something, you might find that leads to a higher click-through rate. You can basically guide visitors' attention around the thing. They're trying to get you to look at the headline here. Speaking of visual cues, maybe you've seen this one. Baby looks at the camera, you look at the baby. Baby looks at the headline, you look at the headline. This has been shown time and time again on landing pages all over the internet, and it's done deliberately or accidentally. When the subject in the photo is looking in a direction, it's as if an invisible arrow is shooting out of their eyes and it guides attention toward that thing with a visual cue. Examples everywhere. So be deliberate about it and make sure that when you use a picture of a person, that person's, the tilt of the shoulder and the head. Joanna Wiebe is doing this on Copy Hackers, and you can see just the sort of the tilt of the head is very specifically designed to move our attention over to the right. CXL has tested this using eye tracking studies with heat maps. When there's a person looking away from the form, person looking up at the form, little arrow pointed at the form. Which of these do you think has the highest gazing on the form itself? It was actually the arrow, which kind of blows my mind. This is one worth testing. Just try drawing a little arrow toward that thing that you want people to look at. In this study, it created quite a bit more time of the viewer looking at the form. But I want to get into the offer, and this is really one of the most important parts here. What Getresponse discovered is fascinating. They looked at a big survey, tons of respondents, pro marketers, telling them what's working and what's not. I love data like this, right? Because I can't see everybody's analytics, but we can ask, and Getresponse asked, and it's a good sample size here, what type of lead magnets have the highest conversion rates? 790 marketers responded to this question, and video and written were the two highest answers. Video, that is totally fascinating to me, but video could mean a lot of different things. What type of video? Short form video or long form video? What they found, 178 respondents said that 73% of them showed that short form videos were converting at higher rates than long form videos. Long form videos, what are we talking about here with long form videos? Basically, webinars. Webinars, actually, people will give you their email address to get into a webinar or recording of a webinar that is highly relevant to them. That was the top performing long form video content, at least the one with the highest conversion rate. That's the webinar. Recordings were actually number 3, so we're really talking about a live event mostly here, right? You can see demos and long tutorials are much farther down the list. But what short form videos, remember these were even more successful. It was just simply video clips and short tutorials. How to. Remember, content marketing is mostly about teaching. The best educators are the best content marketers. So these short video clips can be a very powerful offer, something that you don't see that often. I think there's lots of white space here to create short form video content that people may want to subscribe, offer their email address in exchange for that content. But what about written content? That was number 2, right? What type of written lead magnets have the highest conversion rates? It was short form. Short form won over long form by a pretty substantial margin there. Long form, let's look at long form first. What type of long form lead magnets had the highest conversion rates? It was guides. There again, right? Maybe the age of the ebook is kind of past us now, and the guide is maybe something that we should be testing more in the name of the format, in the format itself. White papers, spreadsheets, farther down the list, email courses, farther down the list. Really, the guides were a strong winner in this research. Short form content that had the highest conversion rate, ebook samples. I think the word sample there is really important because it indicates to the subscriber or the possible, the visitor, the possible conversion, that it's easy to consume, right? A sample doesn't sound like homework, not too much of a, maybe easy to get. checklists also really value. I could totally see how that works, right? Get the quick version of this thing. Get the checklist. Maybe it was a long form piece and the upgrade, the content upgrade, right? That lead magnet was just to get the checklist version of it, right? The easier version. Okay, now I want to talk about the call to action itself, because there's a lot of discussion about this, and I want to present like kind of what's working now in terms of the CTA, the call to action. Now, this is Getresponse's page. It matters. Visual hierarchy is designed deliberately or not, and it's created partly through things like size. I mentioned white space, top of the page or bottom of the page, and color. Okay, remember art class in high school? Color temperature, red, orange, and yellow are warm. Blue, purple, and green are cool. And in a cool context, a warm color is going to stand out. I'm basically telling you how to design a page so that different parts of the page attract the eye sort of magnetically and can pull the attention to the offer, to the button, to call to action. Past that, it's really important that we try to manipulate in the visitor's mind, right, the benefits and the cost, because before they give you their email address, they're going to do a split-second cost-benefit calculation in their brain, and they're going to be asking themselves, is this thing that I want to get worth sharing my email address, worth you hitting my inbox? Is it worth 10 seconds of my time and attention? In other words, nobody does anything. Nobody clicks on anything or scans or scrolls or subscribes or converts until they have done a ROI calculation in their mind, and that offer has won out as having a higher return than the perceived investment. With that in mind, you can see calls to action everywhere, calls to action that have the word free in them, or that make it sound easy to get, right? That's lowering the eye, lowering the perceived investment, right? Brian Dean does this in a kind of a clever way, giving it the feeling of exclusivity. What am I doing here? I'm unlocking the content. It's exclusive content. I'm almost there, showing progress. So this is triggering a different psychology where something feels unfinished, which people don't like. They want to finish it. So that word there, unlock the content. Do I know what I'm doing? Is it specific? Is it prominent? Is it a strong promise? Here's a formula from a friend I learned so much from my network and thought leaders in the industry for high performance calls to action. And you can basically create like a little template, like calls to action that work this way. I want to what? Because why? And put the what's in it for me into the call to action itself. Example, download the free guide. Why? So you can start your guard tower training today, right? The value, the benefit is specific. It's listed there, maybe right in the button. It doesn't have to be in the button, but it needs to be there somewhere. Talk to a strategist. Why? To get your free estimate. The what and the why are there for me. Right? The what is insufficient. You've got to align with the visitor's intent. Call it, and even this is like this is a universal CTA. This could be done on mobile. Call why? Because you want to talk to a web strategist. Wherever, whatever, lead magnets, content upgrades, form submission, whatever the thing is, right? Give them a reason to do it. Nobody's going to do anything unless they perceive a strong benefit to doing it. In the end, you get to what would be, you can build these in Getresponse, whatever tool you're using. They're made for this. They're built for high conversion forms. This Getresponse is going to let you put this together. The form itself can have a little headline. It's the what of your offer, right? Hopefully you've remembered to do this. It's telling people what they're going to get. It's actually not giving them a why. It's just really the what. Now, the subhead can add the why. It's the what's in it for me, right? What's in it for me? This is the purpose of getting the thing. It's why the person cares. It's a psychological hook. And then you've got room. Give them a little bit more. Make it scannable. Maybe a bullet list. Make it scannable. Finally, after that, it's the form itself. The name, the email address, the title, whatever that thing is that they want to get, right? Tell them what they're going to get. And then finally, the call to action. You can see I had to warm them up quite a bit, right? It's not email, sign up, submit. I'm working hard, right? I'm building a hard-working form. In this case, it's a 10-step guide. Get me my 10-step guide. You can imagine. And then finally, maybe we're going to give them a little bit extra. Maybe they weren't ready yet. The closer, it's that last minute nudge to encourage them to take that action. That's it. There you have it. That's what's working now and how you can make it work a little better. Work harder on your lead magnets and your offers, and your lead magnets will work harder for you. Thanks for watching, and keep an eye on this space for more great research from Getresponse. Thanks, everyone.